September 24th. All members of the planning board are present, as well as Janae Lacey, our administrative assistant. Jean Bubon, the town planner, is not able to attend this evening. We'll have a public hearing at 6:31 on 51 Technology Park Road, the DeLeo Gas proposal. And then at 6:50, we'll have the town planner update provided, will be presented by the chair. And then following that will be old business and new business, then adjournment. So has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes of September 24th? Any questions, comments, changes? No? Hearing none, do I have a motion then to approve as submitted?
So moved.
Sue? Chris? All in favor? Opposed, nobody. Very good. Okay, it's 6:31, so we're in good shape. You want to read the
I would love to.
public hearing notice?
So public hearing notice for DeLeo Gas. In accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 11, and the Town of Sturbridge zoning bylaws, the Sturbridge Planning Board will hold a public meeting on Tuesday, October 8th, 2019, at 6:35 p.m. in the Center Office Building, meeting room located at 301 Main Street, Sturbridge, on the application of DeLeo Gas of Worcester, Mass. The applicant requests site plan approval as required by Chapter 25 of the zoning bylaws for the modification of an approved site plan. Applicant is proposing modifications to an approved site plan for proposed building and underground storage tanks for a propane gas service company. The proposed modifications include increasing the drive aisle in the front parking area from 24 feet to 30 feet. A change in site grading and a one-way entrance off Picker Road has been added to allow for better truck access into the site. The property location is 51 Technology Park Road, Sturbridge. A copy of the site plan and application can be inspected at the office of the town clerk during normal office hours. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on this petition should appear at the time and place designated.
Very good. Thank you. We think we have proponents for the project here? Yeah. It's really, yeah, it's actually for the people at home on the TV, so we do need that.
Is it on now?
It's hard to tell. I think Bruce will tell us if it isn't.
It's
So-
green. I think green means go.
You're all set. Great. So
Okay.
you're going to introduce yourselves for the
Yeah,
record,
thank you. My
please?
name is John Grenier. I am a civil engineer out of Shrewsbury, and I am here with Paul DeLeo, who is the owner of DeLeo Gas. DeLeo Gas has an existing business on Route 20 in Worcester, right on the Worcester-Shrewsbury line. They have quite a bit of propane business in this area, so much so that they decided to buy Meacham's gas propane business, and now they're expanding their footprint into this region between Sturbridge out to the Brookfields and beyond. So they're a family-owned business. Paul has a brother. His father started the business. He has a brother who's involved. So they're really taking their business to the next level, and they're expanding. So they're excited to move into Sturbridge. This was really an ideal location for them. Buying out Meacham's business really helped them, start off on a solid foot and really have a presence in the area. So they purchased Meacham's property. This was, as I'm sure you know, previously permitted for a gas similar business, underground storage tanks that are located in this area, a 10,000 square foot building located at the central portion of the site, and then an entrance off of Technology Park Road, which was with the original plan, and parking. And what the DeLeos looked at, and they wanted to customize it just to make it suit their needs a little bit better. So as you stated, what they did was expand the driving aisle width to 30 feet in this area. Some of their employees, and they have trucks, so to be able to pull in, pull out, to have an extra 6 feet kind of makes it a little bit nicer. The propane tanks are in the same location. They altered some of the parking areas a little bit. There was, on the original plan that you approved, there was a loading dock in this area, They have no need for a loading dock, so they made that just a bay of overhead doors, garage doors at the rear of the building, and they do have one overhead door at the front corner here. So now this is at grade garage doors, and for when they have their deliveries and any of the larger vehicles coming into site, having the underground propane tanks where they would be offloading propane into those. They could pull in, instead of trying to zigzag, come up Technology Park Road, zigzag into the site, fill up, and then trying to maneuver in there to turn around and get back out. Paul thought it made a whole lot more sense for them to be able to pull straight down Picker Road, pull into the site where they'd have good visibility. Obviously, the driver would have full visibility of the full road. Pull in, be able to, loop around the building, back in, fill up, and then pull straight back out Technology Park Road and then back out towards Route 20. So for their traffic flow, they've really looked at this and said, okay, how is this site going to function? How is it going to work best for us? So that was really the major alteration that we're proposing from what the original approved plan was. I can flip over to the grading plan. We've maintained the same, in terms of the grading, the same drainage patterns overall. This front parking area goes into a little sediment forebay, then goes into a grass channel swale, and then draining into the infiltration basin. The balance of the rear portion of the parking area goes into a little inlet here into a forebay and then into the basin. So the drainage patterns primarily are the same. The drainage functions primarily the same. With the alterations, we did submit updated drainage calculations to McClure Engineering. They wanted us to go out and just confirm soils out on site. We were actually out with them yesterday. It was a nice day for it, better than today would have been. So we went out and we dug a hole right here in the basin and then 3 or 4 other ones. We had a small mini. It can be some decayed rock and some shale. There is some harder ledge up in the center portion of the site. But we did confirm the soils. We did get down deep enough. We ended up determining that groundwater was a touch higher than what was previously determined. We had it down about 2.5 feet as opposed to 3 feet. So what we did for that was we shifted the basin about 3 feet up gradient and raised up the elevation of the berm. So now we have adequate offset to groundwater and we have adequate storage volume in the basin. So based on yesterday's testing, I was in the field going, oh, how am I going to make this work? Because a lot of the site area was already designed and kind of spoken for. But by shifting it up about 3 feet and then just raising up the bottom of the basin a little bit and raising up the berm of the basin, it works perfectly. So I'm going to be, based on any comments and modifications that we may have from you folks tonight, I'm going to be getting those plans back over to McClure just to get their blessing on them. But we had their comment letter, and we believe we've addressed everything that they're looking for in terms of, determining soil types and doing some groundwater mounding analysis. We made sure everything worked. So I think we're in good shape with them, but we'll be probably looking for continuation so that we can get their comments back and get their blessing before we hopefully can close things out with you folks. We have also gone before the selectmen, and Paul, you got your permits for the underground storage tanks? So through the fire department. So they are going to have, what's it, 230,000 gallons? 230,000. They're going to be buried, so you won't see them. They'll just be sectioned off with, there's be fencing and some bollards. So that you don't obviously drive under them. But they've gone through the fire department, they've been in front of the selectmen, so that process has been complete, so they have full approval on that. We will be going back before the Conservation Commission with the modifications that you now have in front of you. And we have them scheduled coming up in like a week or two. So we'll be before the Conservation Commission. I don't anticipate any issues. It's pretty much, we're maintaining the same offsets to the wetlands. The drainage is still functioning. We're still meeting all of our stormwater management requirements. So we believe that's just going, we have to go through the process, but we don't think that there's anything that would be, that would alter the scope of the project in any way. I think I've touched on a lot of the major points. I'd put it to the chair if anybody on the.
Yeah, why don't we go
has any
through then and see if
questions or
we have any
comments.
questions or comments? Russell, do you have anything you'd like to?
So this plan isn't accurate to the elevations and around the sedimentation?
Just, we raised up the berm elevation by a foot.
Okay.
But other than that,
So the as-built will,
we're gonna provide an updated set of site plans that'll go back to you, and it'll be the same plans that McClure will be reviewing. I mean, at a quick glance, you wouldn't even be able to tell unless you were saying, oh, wait a minute, the elevation of the berm's up a little bit higher. So we're gonna have updated plans and updated drainage calculations that are gonna go back for your records and for McClure to review.
Right, and also, Russell, yeah, we'll have a report from McClure before we vote on it at
Correct.
the next hearing, when we extend the hearing.
and just compliment you on the redesign of the traffic flow for that. I think you're correct, and it's gonna make it a lot better for your trailer truck deliveries.
Yeah, I
And trying to
think so,
maneuver
too.
around there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
I
it's
gotta
Plus
give that to,
safer.
he knows his business, he knows
Right.
how his trucks pull in and pull out of his sites. That was, I'd like to take credit for it. It was, it was Paul.
Especially with it being that corner lot too, it kind of makes a lot of sense.
That's all. Thank
All right,
you.
great. Jim?
How long are the trucks that might be coming in to the gas storage tanks?
For loading,
I think they were on the 80, from front to back, I think they were 82.
I believe so. We
Talking to-
put a template on there.
Yeah.
The length of the trucks that are going to negotiate that turn coming out?
It was
Both
a,
delivery trucks that are filling the 30,000-gallon tanks.
I think it was 82.
I think, we believe it's 82 feet from the front of the truck.
From bumper to bumper.
Okay. And exiting onto Technology Road and then taking the left out onto Route 20, that seems like a awfully tight turn for an 80-foot-long truck. When they're taking the turn out to Route 20, they're gonna be blocking up that whole intersection. Anything coming in won't be able to turn in while they're there, I presume.
We didn't throw a template on that turn. We did throw a template on exiting our property.
Right.
And it looked like that was clean cut, but we didn't throw a template on.
Going out onto
off of
Route,
Technology onto,
or Picker onto,
Picker.
from Picker onto Route 20.
Yes.
We did a turning template entering the site and
Yeah.
exiting the site. This is a pretty wide radius, turning right.
Yeah, it isn't the radius of turning right that's so much as when they are coming off of Technology Road to Route 20, I think they will be blocking, an 80-foot-long truck, I think, will be blocking that entire intersection. So anything coming in off of Route 20 is gonna stop.
You're talking right here?
Yes.
Well, they would be within their driving aisle, and then being able to turn out. I don't know that they would block anything, if they were sitting here to pull out onto Route 20, you'd have the truck located in this area.
That's not 80 feet from Route 20 back to Technology Road there.
Here, let me throw a scale on that, just so. Just so I make sure we're talking about the same, we're on the same page.
I mean, Jimmy, it goes beyond, the property line, right? You see where the,
No, I'm sorry, it's like 68.
Yeah, that's not what I'm concerned about. What I'm concerned about is the trucks exiting.
Yeah, so 68 feet, oh, my microphone. So if say from the property line, 68 feet.
Okay, okay.
is-
I wasn't understanding where Route 20 was.
Right, it's out further than the property.
Okay.
From the
Yeah.
property line, the truck would be like
All right.
that.
Okay, I understand better, thank you.
Okay.
Jeff, anything?
Will we have an opportunity to ask questions prior to the vote?
Oh, you can ask.
Are we going to reopen questioning?
Well, we'll continue, the plan is to continue the public hearing, so we can do that, and then, you know, we'll have questions, you know, to vote on. But
Okay.
any question you want to ask tonight is fine, too. But
I'll
we will have an opportunity, because we won't close the public hearing.
I'll reserve until.
Okay, great. Very good. Sue?
I'm thinking about the lighting. I'm on the lighting plan, lighting and landscape. And I'm wondering what type of lighting
There'll be, actually, we
will be on the
did-
building and in the area.
they'll have, there'll obviously be wall packs on the building, there'll be light poles. We had submitted some cut sheets for the, and I don't know if, let me take a look in my file. I don't know if I made it, if I threw a copy in the file, but we did submit some
Uh-huh.
for review. You know what, I may not have thrown it back in the folder, because I had
Okay.
I had emailed them in. But they'll be, they're not typical, like, straightforward shoe boxes, like the,
You're talking on the building,
both, on both the building or in the parking
on
lot
the
there.
tall poles in the parking lot?
They're, I mean, they'll be shutting light down, so
Correct.
they're cut off, but they are more energy efficient.
Right.
And they're a little bit more modern looking. They're not just a typical shoebox, but they're gonna be energy efficient and they're gonna be down, everything's gonna be downlit.
Okay.
And we do have some specs that, they were submitted. I think she was looking for some specs on them, and we sent them on it was either Friday or Monday, Paul.
Might have been Monday.
It was Monday.
Okay. So we can just.
We
review
take
that
a,
at
take
the
a
time.
peek at those out.
Yeah. And the landscape,
Uh-huh.
it looks, I don't know what's coming down when you go into that area. Are you taking much down?
They're gonna be taking everything down.
Everything down?
I mean, they'll, and let me back up. They, along Picker Road,
Yeah.
and we do show a tree line, a proposed tree line, so there will be some buffering at the corner, but once you get into the site itself,
Greater than 4.
there's ledge, they're gonna have cuts, they're gonna have fills, so they're gonna save some vegetation along the corner, and obviously down the right-of-way, but once you get into the meat of the site, it's not, they can say, oh gee, that's a beautiful oak tree, let's save that
Hey,
one.
Right.
It's not gonna happen.
Okay. And the building itself is smaller than the one that was proposed?
Yeah, it's on the same footprint,
Uh-huh.
instead of a two-story building, it's gonna be a one-story building. So it's still gonna be the 100 by 100,
Uh-huh.
but just a single one.
So they did have a rendering done. The way that they lit it, the shading of the building is a little bit, doesn't look quite right, just the way that they lit it up when they rendered it. But that's going to be a good representation. Now, this is looking at the front of the building where the parking area is. And you can see, you know, some entrances in that garage door. So that's going to be the style of the building. They'll have some split-face block along the front to kind of break it up a little bit. They'll have a little bit of a shadow line over the windows, so it just doesn't look like a bare box. It has a little bit of a dimension to it. But it will be, you know, it's a industrial style building.
When I hear flat roof, I think flat roof. This doesn't look like it's flat, is it?
No,
No, it will have a
It will have a little taper in the back?
yeah.
And then all the water will run into drainage pipes that will go into
Into the infiltration basin.
infiltration basin. Okay, thank you.
Very good. Mike?
Yeah, I mean, the only comments that I had, I think, have all been addressed. I think adding the one-way for the truck entering makes a lot of sense for the site. And I did initially have a concern, as Jim brought up, about potentially blocking, taking a left out of Technology Road to get onto 20. But I believe this is already existing type of business.
Right.
Do we know a number of trucks as it would compare, or?
Well-
It's very seasonal.
Yeah.
You know, in the wintertime, we have more than what we have in the summer. I would say only a 30% of our deliveries are gonna be going to the satellite.
Mhm.
Not everything for Worcester is gonna ship to the end of the
Yeah.
delivery. In the wintertime, I would say one delivery day is
Okay.
really high.
Yep.
In the summertime, one a week,
Gotcha.
maybe two.
Okay.
And that's for the larger 18-wheeler
Yeah.
truck that we're talking
Yep.
about. And then all of our single axle propane trucks will be hitting that corner.
Yep. Yep. Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, on a high end, one a day. It's
Okay.
of
Yep. Good to know.
Very good.
That's all I had.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Yeah, my only question would be, is it normal business hours for when these trucks would be coming and going? Typically?
Typically it is. We won't be getting deliveries at midnight. But it's typically, like early morning deliveries is typical.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Very good, thank you. Okay, and this is a public hearing. Do we have any comments from the public? Okay, very good. Well, I think, Jean has given a pretty comprehensive report. She's reviewed the project, how it complies with our bylaws and so forth. And she notes in her report that the applicant is aware that the final design plans must be submitted to design review, and we'll get information back on that once they review this. And as John explained before, McClure Engineering, who's our peer review consultant, has gotten the information. They will be providing a report to us. So I would recommend that the hearing be continued until October 22nd, 2019 at 6:35 PM. Could I have a motion to do that?
So moved.
Sue?
I'll second it.
We already
Second,
have
Jeff?
a waiver of site plan, is that on the agenda for the next meeting for Blackington Building? I'm just wondering timing wise, is that,
Well,
It's fine, because that's not a public hearing,
okay.
so they can,
I just didn't know if you had that scheduled yet.
it's not
or
scheduled
Okay.
yet, yeah. no.
Sorry, Joe.
that's all right. No, I just. Okay, so any other questions? All in favor? Opposed, nobody. Great, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the town planner update. And the first item is the codification project. We have an organizational analysis that was prepared by General Code Publishers for the town. This project was funded by town meeting at the annual town meeting this past June. The purpose is to undertake a comprehensive review and update of the general bylaws and the zoning bylaws. And I think the town has also chosen to include the town's regulations and also the town charter. So Jean has provided sort of a summary of this. I did meet with Jean last week. We reviewed the options that were presented by General Code for how much we want to get into, modifying any of the current zoning bylaws. Our part of it, obviously, is to make recommendations for what we do with the zoning bylaws. And so if you go through the section that Jean has attached, I think it's toward the end of the packet here. Let's see. Okay. Um, It kind of goes through and explains, the purpose of it and the process that general code will be going through. And the recommendation that we had was that the table of contents, as, they were suggested by general code, at least for the items covered in the zoning bylaws, would be followed. And we also recommended that we make changes so that what would happen would be, once this is completed, it would go to town meeting, and we would recommend then we have, one article to readopt the zoning bylaw in its entirety. That way, if we have changes that are made in spelling or any other errors we find, it would only take one vote to get this thing approved. And they made some suggestions in here. I gave some examples of some of the things that we have in our current bylaws are a little bit out of sequence for how you'd review them. So they've made recommendations on how we would keep things that flow better in this new organization. And so that's our recommendation. I believe she met with Jeff and made these recommendations, and I think the Board of Selectmen is reviewing how they'd like to handle the general bylaws.
Yes, the board actually made the decision last night to go with the team's recommendation for the bylaws. It's similar to the zoning bylaws.
Good, good. So that was, the reason we're bringing it up tonight is to make sure that the, planning board concurs with that recommendation that Gene made. If there are any issues, let me know and we can talk it over with Gene, but I believe that it's the best way to do it. I don't know if you're familiar with this general code stuff that they have, but it seems like a majority of the cities and towns in Massachusetts now use this. And what it does, it allows all your general bylaws and zoning bylaws and regulations to be on the internet, and they annually, update these things, and it's searchable all on the internet, on your website and so forth. So it's really, I think, a real benefit to the way, the town's, bylaws and regulations are presented. So I think it's a very good idea that, the town went ahead to do this, and I think that, as Gene recommended, we want to make the most of it by getting them in as best shape as we can to move forward with them.
You mean prior to submitting them? We're going to be reviewing?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Our-
this first step is just to, the very
Accept the
first
form.
question about the form, the table of contents, but as we go through, they'll be presenting questions to us and to Gene primarily, that they've noticed inconsistencies or maybe changes. Sometimes there are changes in Mass General Law, and our bylaws may recommend or may reference sections of Mass General Law that are no longer in effect. I mean, we went through this in Palmer. In fact, we're at the stage where in Palmer, I think they should be able to be making the final acceptance in December. And there'll be a whole bunch of information that comes back. And the stuff that relates to the zoning bylaws will go through Gene and then be reviewed by us. So, yeah. Okay, so we all agree that we'll move ahead with that. Great, very good.
I have one question
Yeah,
on this.
sure.
This general code. Jeff, does our town council help this general code process, or how are they affiliated with it?
So the General Code Publishers is nationwide, and they have attorneys in each state
Okay.
that look for consistency, as Charlie said, with the state laws versus what we're doing. If they need to bring in our town council on a specific issue, they'll ask.
Okay.
But they have attorneys, that's generally what they are.
And have we used them before?
I don't
The town
think
of
this
Sturbridge?
town has, but they're nationwide. I used them first in 1992, and they're everywhere.
Yeah, I think they're really the leading group that puts this, type of a online code together. And as I mentioned, I think more than half, well more than half of the cities and towns in Massachusetts are using this now.
And not only do you,
Sure.
not only do you get the one-time edition of the bylaws, but if you make a change or you update something, they'll actually recodify that for you. You send it to them manually or whatever, and they'll produce a new document or renumber things or change out pages or whatever it is.
Right.
So it stays fresh.
And as we go along in the process, I guess is what I'm trying to get at is, will our town council will we have an opinion from town council on that at the end of all of this, before we vote?
It really depends on the substantive changes, if they recommend it. If they're just recommending spelling changes, if they say you're taking out the gender references, but if they say, well, wait a minute, the way you approve a site plan is inconsistent with Massachusetts general law, and we know our town council drafted that, we probably want to get that
Right,
involved.
right.
It really depends on the substantive nature of the
Right,
recommendation.
yeah. One of the other things will be that, since we're recommending that we go through and handle any of the changes, whether they be clerical or format, whatever, as one vote, then we will have to then submit that to the Attorney General's office as
Right.
well, so that anything that would have been changed, they would review it to make sure that there's, no change in the way the bylaw was originally approved and approved by the Attorney General's office.
Right, okay. I guess before it went to the AG's office, it would be prudent for us to have town council review that, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, we could certainly, it would be up to Jeff to decide, but I mean, we'd make a recommendation if we saw anything in the zoning bylaws that we thought we had a question on. But, I mean, based on what I'd seen, for example, in my experience in Palmer, the changes aren't usually of that nature. In other words, it's a clarification that you've referenced, say, Mass General Law that's no longer in effect, or you have a wrong section because something else changed. So, substantive changes, don't seem to come out of this. In other words, it's really just making sure that the way our bylaws are written complies with what, the meaning and the intent of the bylaw was initially when they put it together.
Okay, all right.
Okay, next, I think Jean has provided information on the fact that the housing survey is now live. She's recommended that, we get the word out on this, any of your contacts or anything, to get as many people as we can to take the housing survey. I don't know if anyone has a chance. I did click on it. It does go to the SurveyMonkey site. I didn't start the question on it yet, but that's out there. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts about that?
I'd just like to reiterate the thought that was mentioned last night at the Board of Selectmen meeting, that hard copies be available to people who don't have computers at the library, possibly, and the senior center.
Great.
And I believe that they were going.
Okay, our
You
next,
said it is live, because what I'm saying says it's not live yet.
oh, was it? I thought.
It
I
is
thought
live now.
Yeah, I
we
think your
decided to
latest
just make
email
it
said that
live.
it was.
And
Because
it's
I think that-
posted on the website,
Yeah.
the town website. And I have made copies. They will be going to the senior center. There's going to be some here, there's going to be some at the town hall, and we can definitely drop some off at the library as well.
Yeah, I think it was going to be live on the 11th, but I guess it is now, because she sent us a new link today that if you click on it, you do get to the SurveyMonkey website.
As well as it's going to be made available information on the cable news flips that are on the cable station for the local news.
Great. Okay, so our next meeting will be October 22nd, and we'll also have the site plan waiver request for the Blackington building. And then the last item that Jean had was the fact that on the special use district proposed zoning amendments that we voted on a few months ago, she has forwarded those to the Board of Selectmen so that they can have any opportunity they need to get it scheduled for the town meeting that would like to put those on. So we've started the process of moving it forward to the Board of Selectmen. So, other than that, we have old and new business. Russ, any old business? Jim? Jeff?
Nothing.
Sue?
None?
Okay. How about new business?
No.
All set? Motion to adjourn? Yes. Okay. Second? Jim? All in favor? Great. Very good. See you all on the 22nd.